Hey guys, Bix Weir, roadtoruta.com. We got Jake Boyle from Caleb and Brown. We're going to talk cryptos because both of us think the crypto alt season's about to go absolutely nuts and you got to be in it. Don't lollygag. Don't lollygag around. You got to be in it. You got to be ready. Caleb and Brown is a great choice for people, especially if you're not really comfortable with cryptos yet. And they're a broker of cryptos. They've been around a long time, very trusted by a lot of people in the industry. Jake can take care of you. Jake, first of all, where are you? You travel so much. Where are you right now?
I'm in Melbourne, Australia. So the last 3 months, I think I've had maybe 35 flights. So basically every third day, I've just been on a different flight. So throughout the US, throughout Europe, throughout the Middle East, and then throughout Australia as well. All work related, unfortunately, but it's an exciting time for the market and there's a lot of work to do. So we never really get a day off here.
Well, I don't know if it's all work. We had lunch in California, and that was pretty nice. It didn't feel like it to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to sound professional in case people from the office are watching these videos. Like, yeah, he better be working on these trips. No, I have the pleasure of meeting a lot of people like yourself and a lot of people in the community. I'm sure some people watching are people that I got to break bread with in the state of California or Florida and the like. So it's very good.
Excellent, excellent. All right, what I want to do today is talk to people who silver's doing real well. My silver crowd, they're very happy. They're holding, they plan on holding. After it breaks 50, should run to who knows, 100, 200, 600, wherever it goes. But we'll be looking for other investments that are massively undervalued. And I have been screaming that cryptos and precious metals should be part of everybody's portfolio by now. But I have a lot of silver holdouts saying, I'm holding my silver. I don't want any cryptos. I've been holding it for so long. I don't understand cryptos. I don't believe in them. As we break 50, and I think we will break 50 this year, and then it's never been over 50. The silver price has never been over 50, which is the craziest thing ever. It was
Yeah.
almost 50 in 1980, and here we are a zillion years later and it's under 50. And gold has what hit four times its all-time high
Yeah.
from 1980. So no doubt in my mind, silver is an excellent place to be right now to take advantage of that release of manipulation from the price of silver. But there will be a time, and you want to be able to jump right into something else. And a lot
Yeah.
of my silver guys are not comfortable in cryptos. If you're a newbie in cryptos, and you want to work with a broker instead of trying to figure out the exchanges and all that, what would you recommend they do from day one to set up an account, even if you're not going to invest in anything, to set up an account with you guys?
Yeah, I think that if you set up an account, there's no cost of speaking to us and there's no obligation to do anything. So you can really just set up an account, get the ball rolling, really just so you can kind of play the system and get yourself someone that you can speak to directly. And then if through those conversations you think, you know what, cryptocurrency, it's too volatile, it trades 24/7, it moves dramatically when there's major news announcements, and that's just not personally for me, then that's completely fine. Now you know, and now you've got that clarity. You don't need to waste your time thinking about it anymore. But then if you think, you know what, it is very volatile, but it's also very new and very innovative. And I would like to get some exposure to that. You don't have to sell all your silver, sell all your gold, sell the family house, but just gradually getting into the market and then understanding it over time. I think we encourage people just to have a phone call with us so they can figure out if it's something that works for them. And in the event that it is, don't go all eggs in one basket. Just test the waters. Buy $100 worth of this, $1,000 worth of that. Maybe start with something like Bitcoin or Litecoin, Ethereum, some of the more established cryptocurrencies that are out there. They're easier to understand. They've kind of stood the test of time. And then as your confidence and your understanding grows, that's when you can start to explore more volatile altcoins and more short or medium term trading decisions and things like that.
Sounds like a great, easy way to do it and doesn't cost you anything to get started that way. If you guys want to do that, go to the Road to Ruta site. In our affiliate section, we have a section for Caleb and Brown. You can just click on that, click on the affiliate section. It'll get you right to a form, very simple, know your customer type of information that everybody has to fill up anyway. And then you can get to, I think are you assigned a broker then, and you get to talk to somebody if you need to?
Yeah, so once you create an account, you'll have instant access to our online web portal, which is something relatively new over the years. And through that, you'll actually see a photo of your broker, their contact details. But they'll likely reach out to you before you even get a chance to see that and just say like, "Hey, what time zone are you in? Let's organize a time to have a call." We're one of the only crypto businesses in the world where you can actually speak to the business itself. So because it's a fairly new, and it was not so much now, but it was historically a fairly loosely regulated industry, a lot of the large crypto businesses would really shy away from putting a face to a name. And personally, I prefer more of the old school business of meeting people in person, shaking someone's hand, making a deal. And that's the kind of way that we work with a brokerage model. So once you have someone assigned to your account, that's the person who is responsible and accountable for you effectively getting what you want out of this space and helping protect you, educate you, walk through ideas with you so that you can keep your assets safe and you can not have a stressful experience engaging with a market, which, whether we like it or not, is sometimes a little stressful.
Well, yeah, and I've been telling people a long time, you got to wade through the crap and be able to hodl, hold on for dear life. If you pick the right crypto, you're going to do fine over time. I am screaming, jumping up and down these days about what's going on over at Theta and the Theta versus Theta Fuel ratio. Both Theta and Theta Fuel are down 95% from the all-time highs of 2021. Now, people might say, "Oh my God, you lost so much money on how could you recommend that trade?" The reality was Theta was at 4 cents when I was screaming and yelling to buy it. It's very similar to that these days. I think it went to 70
Yeah.
cents today, and it went $15. Theta Fuel went to 60 cents. So those are 20x moves that I think just to get to the all-time highs. Very similar to silver, although silver probably has to go up like 30% to get to its all-time high.
Yeah.
But yes, definitely much more volatile. But if you guys watch my stuff, and I always talk about Theta and Theta Labs, what they're doing with AI these days is crazy. With the broadband sharing, with there's just so many things that differentiate themselves. I don't even know how many patents they have now. Um, but the reality is, this is a real company. It's a technology company that has a crypto component to it. And I think it's the technology investors don't know about it much yet. The crypto people barely know about it, because it wasn't on any exchanges in the US for a very long time.
Yep.
But now, with Trump changing the rules or at least pretending to change the rules, who knows what he's got up his sleeve. The reality is that it's much safer, much easier to invest now. The banks are much more friendly about transferring money. Let's get into that a little bit because historically, the banks in the United States have been basically shanghaied by the SEC and tackled by the regulators and the Fed because they don't want anybody to participate in the crypto market. That has changed, I hear. What's it like at Caleb Brown?
Yeah, it has changed quite dramatically. So when we first start, so I've been in the crypto space for about, what are we now, to just over a decade now, just over a decade. And Caleb and Brown's existed since 2016, of which I've been a part of that journey. The early days of banking were so difficult. In fact, the origins of the name Caleb and Brown comes from the fact that we needed to have a business name that sounded so traditional and so boring. It sounds like some gold and silver broker from the 1920s bull run, right? We needed something like that because if you have the word crypto or Bitcoin in your company name, you are guaranteed to lose your bank account before you even get the bank account. And that's nothing to do with you individually. It's just the fact that cryptocurrency is mentioned, you are kicked out of the bank and they'll laugh you out the door. Now that has changed. We are able now to have crypto-friendly banks. So we have bank accounts in the USA, local banks, registered, incorporated in the United States, and clients can send and receive money from there. We also have banks in Australia. The banking system in Australia is one of the more reputable ones in the world. If you kind of just do a bit of research on the GFC, you'll see that the Australian banks had very different risk controls, which enabled them to be particularly safe and secure during a volatile period. And then, of course, we have bank accounts in the United Kingdom, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland, which provides a whole nother kind of range of longevity and reliability in some of these bank friendly jurisdictions. What that means for us is we can get these bank accounts, which are notoriously hard to get. They are happy to onboard our company because we've existed for a long time. We have the internal controls, governance, and the like that appeases their risk. So they'll give us a bank account, and in turn, our clients can leverage that. So thankfully, we're in an environment now where debanking is less of a fear factor. It certainly didn't be the wasn't the case back in the day, and that is largely due to a lot of the changes in Trump's administration. And he has had a lot of announcements recently, which kind of further add to that. USA has to be number one in crypto innovation, no more debanking of entrepreneurs. So it is very exciting, but still not exactly where we need it just yet, but we're making good headway.
Good, good. Hey, I want to show everybody. I'm going to try to share the screen here
Yep.
if I can figure out how to do it. Hang on a second and show you how to get to the Caleb and Brown site at Road to Ruta. So there we have. Can you see that?
Yep, got it, got it.
Just on the top there, it says home, about, and then affiliates. You want to click on affiliates. And we got all kinds of affiliates um, up and down the spectrum, you name it, silver, gold. And there's Caleb and Brown. I think it's at the bottom because I had you up there first. And then every time we'd add one, you'd get farther. I'm going to move you back to the top. So click
Oh,
on
thank
the
you.
Caleb, click on Caleb and Brown, and we have an interview there that Jake and I talk about. I think it's coming up here. A lot of the things going on in crypto, it'll come up on your site. Mine's getting a little what is wrong? Here we go. Hold on. There we go. There's the link to get right to the Caleb and Brown site. And there's the interview. Just hit play and that'll play for you. We discussed, I think it's about a year old. Is that about a year
Yeah,
old?
about a year old. It's
And,
it's it's still up to date. So if anyone watches that, it'll give you the good summary of what we do, what you need for an account, and what
right.
the process looks like.
And lots of good stuff. And I think we talked about Theta again there. Not that I'm shilling for Theta, but I do think I've done my homework on it basically. And you get that way when you're in cryptos. You see certain cryptos and you're like, well, I like them because of this. And then you
Yeah.
dive deeper. And are they doing what they said? Are they continuing to fulfill everything that they said they were going to do? And you'll see a lot of cryptos do half of what they'll talk a great game, just not do it.
Yeah.
There's plenty of things to blame, especially in a down market for altcoins. You see a lot of altcoins disappear, and that's why one of the reasons I love Theta. I'm like, these guys are doing something every week now. They're talking about a new partner that comes on either on the AI side or the university side, or they got little chat bots for sports teams. They're signing up all kinds of sports teams for the website of the actual your favorite sport team. Will have a little like a little mascot that tells you all about the stats. You ask it questions. It's all AI driven. They're amazing at doing this stuff. They're the worst marketing squad ever in the history of cryptos. But if you're a buyer, you want that. If you're a buyer to hold, you want nobody to know about it so you can get it when it's fresh and young and nobody knows about it. I think it's there right now, both in the crypto side and in the tech investment side. Because at a point in time, the tech people are all going to say, oh my God, this decentralized cloud is going to take over from the centralization of cloud. And who is the leading, by far the leader in that space is Theta Labs. And then they'll say, well, I should buy Theta. And then it's like, you get to Theta and you say, well, it's 20 to 1 to Theta Fuel. Without Theta Fuel, Theta doesn't work. So yeah, they buy and sell with Theta Fuel and they burn Theta Fuel every time a transaction goes off. So it's, although right now it's like 5% a year inflation in Theta Fuel, the more transactions happen, it's going to be deflationary. And then you really get into an exciting time. So, I mean, you guys sell Theta Fuel and Theta. You've been selling that to our customers for a very, very long time, and buy and sell too. So
Yeah,
you
of
can you
course.
can take your Theta and Theta Fuel, and if you want to swap it for something, you want to change it over. It's just like a brokerage account, like a standard brokerage account. You can go onto their website, buy and sell whatever you want to buy and sell that they have. So I think it's a great thing to, even if you aren't in yet, you're going to want to be at some point. I think silver's going to go so hard, so fast. You're going to be saying, well, all my dreams have been fulfilled. Now what am I going to do with this money? If I don't want to hold 100% of it in silver. And truthfully, I've been talking about this a long time where my ultimate dream would be if silver goes crazy and starts to be freely traded and 500-600 bucks an ounce, while while cryptos are still low. And then you can, I mean, what a move that is to sell
Yeah.
your silver for cryptos. And I did some of that
Well,
when cryptos were running.
yeah, it's one of the oldest trades cycle on cycle that people do in crypto. So if you look at the last 8 years of cryptocurrency trading, while the market's been relatively high in market cap and trade volumes, typically what happens is Bitcoin leads the way. It gets to about 70% market dominance. So of all cryptocurrency value in the entire world, once 70% of that value is Bitcoin alone, and then every other altcoin has to share that small 30% sliver. Once Bitcoin hits those levels, typically what's happened historically, and hopefully, it's showing the hallmarks of this again right now. Bitcoin hit all-time high today. We're currently sitting at all-time high. It gets all this enthusiasm and this love and attention, news headlines, everyone's talking about it. And then all these newcomers come into the market and think, oh, well, I missed the boat on Bitcoin. That's already hit these crazy prices. And all this capital starts to flow down the list of altcoins. And you see a lot of people start to pivot their Bitcoin gains into some of the more risk on cryptocurrencies, the more volatile ones. And we saw that in 2021. We saw that in 2017. And in one of the earlier, smaller cycles, 2013, we saw that as well. So I can definitely see a scenario where Bitcoin is hitting these staggering prices. It builds all this enthusiasm at headlines, and a lot of that money starts flowing down the list. And that's when things like Theta, things like the DeFi ecosystem, a whole variety of different subsets of the market start to get that momentum again. And if the teams then start to push their marketing campaigns at the same time, so Theta's probably not marketing because in the last couple of years it's been a bearish environment. They know they're not going to get any return on that kind of marketing budget. Whereas in this environment, when we've got Trump's big beautiful bill, which is going to push so much more cash into the supply and potentially drive a lot of these assets up, it makes sense that some of these altcoins really start scaling their marketing so they can capture this tailwind of this market.
I think one thing I was talking about and thinking about the other day was you look at Bitcoin right now, it was 110, something like that. If
Yeah.
it 10x it'd be over $1 million coin per coin. That'd be a 10x. For Theta, 10x makes it one half of its all-time high at $7. And I'm like, what is the likelihood of Bitcoin 10xing versus Theta 10xing? It would take a very little amount of money for Theta to 10x, like it did in 2021. And it literally it went 40x, I think, is what we calculated when I'm screaming, buy it, buy it. It got a little scary after $10, and then everything collapsed. You can name why markets collapse these days, especially in cryptos. Um, it was the Trump administration that said they were going to collapse the entire crypto market. It was what was the guy's name? Chris Giancarlo admitted that it was the introduction of the Bitcoin derivatives. They go, we had to introduce Bitcoin derivatives, or the price would just keep going up. I mean, if that's not market manipulation, I don't know what is. I mean, that's what they're supposed to stop. But he's true. He's right, 100%. If you want to rig a market, you introduce derivatives to that market, and then have unlimited buys and sells. When crypto
Yeah.
was trading more freely, there's 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined in history, and they don't like that. The bankers don't like that, so they start ETFs and crazy derivatives on Bitcoin so they can control it mainly. And they know, they collude together to get the highs and the lows and try to shake you out of the market. And the only thing you can do is hang on for dear life.
Yeah, it's wild because the market is so different today than what it was several years ago, even in 2021. So right now you've got Bybit, Binance, you've got Hyperliquid, you have all these different platforms that people can use to leverage up their positions. And you have these people who historically, if they're going to move the price of a coin, if they're only buying, say, $2,000 worth of an asset and they're just spot buying, they're buying the actual coins, they're moving it to their wallet, leaving it in their account with Caleb and Brown, whatever the case may be. It's a very simple, traditional type of transaction. Whereas what we're seeing now is that same individual can get that $2,000 and then via leverage, they could trade a $40,000 position on some of these platforms. Now, needless to say, they're probably going to get liquidated, but their impact on the price's volatility, if it's a very illiquid token, is so dramatic. So now what we're seeing is when there's any news headlines or movements in the space, you're not seeing a 1 or a 2% move. You're seeing like a 5 to 10% move because it's billions or hundreds of millions of dollars of positions being liquidated. And a lot of that is quite controversial and does tie into manipulation and incentive structures by some of these platforms.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen platforms disappear many times in cryptos. So you got to
Oh
make sure
yeah,
you know who you're dealing with, and make sure you're not doing anything crazy. There's no reason to do crazy stuff right now. Hyper leverage is just it means hyper volatility going up and coming down. And unless you control that market, like a lot of these big guys do, if you could trade with them, good for you. Bravo, you're in the club. If you don't know what they're going to do next, if you don't know who the sucker at the table is, it's probably you. And that's the way to think about these markets these days.
exactly. Yeah, it is wild to kind of think of it like that. And the other reality is too, like we've had a number of people we've worked with as clients over the years, and they said, "Oh, Jake, the market's going up, and I bought $20,000 worth of Bitcoin through CMB, but then I went on this platform and I put $20,000 there, and that's outperformed what I have with CMB dramatically." We're like, "Well, hey, we're not managing your money. We're just a very simple brokerage." But if you don't mind me asking, what's this other platform? And it's a real platform. It's a legitimate platform. But what they were doing is they were catching the upswing of the market and they were trading with leverage. And then one day they're saying, "Oh, I've made $50,000 leverage trading this week." And then another day
They've lost
their phone
everything.
is turned off and they don't want to talk about crypto ever again. And they're like, "Delete my number." And you're thinking, oh man. So you make all the money that you make is easy come, easy go. And like you said, unless you're Warren Buffett or George Soros or some hedge fund billionaire from New York City, the reality is that all it takes is one time to be wrong when you're doing high risk activity and it can blow up the account. What we've seen over the years is you dollar cost average and you buy assets when they're bleeding and burnt out and no one wants to talk about them. When everyone is saying that you're an idiot for wanting to buy it, that's when you want to be buying. And when everyone is telling you, when your Uber driver and the barista is telling you, you need to buy Theta, that's when you need to sell your Theta. So you just need to do the inverse of what the common person is doing. That's what we've found over time.
And yeah, people have done that. And truthfully, for me, it's proven better just to hodl your way through. Hold on for dear life. If you believe in the crypto, you believe in the project. I've got a lot of friends who like, oh, I'm going to lick the ice cream cone. I'm going to sell it. They sold it $2 Theta, and then they bought back in at 10 because they thought they missed out, and then it drops to 70s, and it's a mess. If you're interested in investing in the future of money, I think the future of money is all about crypto. It's not about these criminal bankers running the show anymore. I think, yeah, you're going to have to own some very important cryptos, and you could do that by going to Caleb and Brown. Again, go to roadtorow.com, click on the affiliate section, go down to the Caleb and Brown section, and set up an account. And even if you're not going to buy anything yet, you're going to want to have an account available when silver goes crazy and we're looking at $500 silver. You're going to want to sell a couple of those ounces and dip your feet into some cryptos. So, Jake, thank you for hanging out with us, talking to us about what you guys
I
can
mean,
do for our Road to Ruta fans. And again, my 100%, I'm buying Theta Fuel right now. I always buy a little bit of Bitcoin and a little bit of Theta and a little bit of Veritasium, which is really hard to get. It's like crazy impossible.
yeah,
But Theta Fuel, I think, is really undervalued compared to where it's going to be in the next 3 or 4 years. And that's how I look at it. 3 or 4 years out, what's it going to be worth? So,
exactly.
Jake,
It's
thank you
been a
so
pleasure.
much. All right, you take care.
You as well. Thanks, Bix. Take care.